Hello again, and welcome to another of Mosaic's coffee breaks. Mosaic is, of course, a collaboration of the organisations shown at the front of this presentation, and that collaboration focuses very much on the ownership issues associated with mid-market law firms. And when we say ownership, we mean everything associated with ownership, mergers and acquisitions, partnership structures, succession planning, partner exits, and everything associated with all of those issues. I hope you enjoy this broadcast.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another Mosaic Coffee Break recording. This time we're going back to our roots, so to speak, because Mosaic is a collaboration best known for its work in law firm mergers and acquisitions. We thought today it'd be worth spending a few minutes talking about what we've got on our desks and what that's telling us about the state of the M&A market in the legal sector. So without further ado, I'm going to work around my screen clockwise, if that's okay. And start with you, Howard. What do you have on your desk at the minute?
I'm in the middle of my screen, Nigel, so you've caught me on the hop here now. I've got 2 or 3 deals on the go at the moment, some with our collaborators around the table, some not. I suppose what is clear to me in the M&A market is what's being stirred up by the amount of additional interest that law firms are getting on their deposit accounts. I've got it in 2 real-life cases where it's directly affecting the value of the firm and directly affecting the negotiations that are taking place. And they look as though they're being resolved, but it really is affecting law firm valuations at the moment. Is my first area.
That's very interesting and to me surprising. I mean, we've been talking about client account interest for the best part of a year. I must admit, I never saw it working its way through into valuations.
No.
Tom, what do you have on your desk at the moment?
Literally this morning, how current can I possibly be? Literally this morning, I have been in the midst of a negotiation for a firm where I'm acting for the vendor, and just sort of picking up Howard's thesis and running with it for a bit. We have that classic, how much is my law firm worth? Well, God only knows type conversation. And Howard just mentioned you can negotiate about the value of the client account. I think the other place that you can often negotiate, that I was negotiating this morning, is the value of off-balance sheet WIP. Particularly true, obviously, if you're in personal injury, clinical negligence, where actually off-balance sheet WIP is often more valuable than the stuff that is on the balance sheet.
Yeah.
And so, as much as we can sit here and go, oh goodness, how much is my law firm worth? Well, I don't know, how long's a piece of string? There is inevitably conversations about value, even if the firm is not worth anything, in inverted commas, because what it might have is many millions of pounds worth of off-balance sheet WIP. And then your conversation becomes, well, okay, but how much of that is actually going to turn into pounds and pence? And now we're off and racing, and there's a whole conversation to be had there.
Yeah, and some exciting legal drafting as well, in terms of how we value that and collect it and decide on it. Sorry, Howard,
I was going to say, what I find interesting is that as a profession, Tom, I think we found the accounting profession still gets ourselves into knots over the valuation of work in progress in the accounts, and whether you include profit, whether you don't include profit. There's so many different ways, and accounts really aren't comparable one firm to the next, because different accounting policies are being adopted by different firms, all of which are acceptable in accordance with accounting standards.
As the old joke goes, the accountants will make any number you want them to make up. That's fine. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I think Tom's point about
question to Mark
injuring is a strong one, because some deals I've done, it's been almost the entire valuation of the firm.
No, we have over the years talked about goodwill in law firms, and it's a conversation I had with somebody only the other day, and how much is my law firm worth? And I think I quoted Howard in terms of less than you think. What is valuation? I mean, whilst I'm going, we've been hugely busy on M&A since the new year. It's really picked up. I think we've got 4 or 5 on at the moment. I've got a couple that are sort of pending, and people saying let's go. So I'm not quite sure last year was a little bit more sticky, and it somehow seemed harder during 2023 to get people to commit to actually go ahead with the mergers. But this year they're all running ahead, so a lot on. Got one with a premium, not seen that for a little while, where the buyer is actually going to give the seller cash on completion. I'm going silent there whilst you all look shocked on screen.
It's interesting, the process. That another one I've got on the go at the moment is a firm that Mark and I act for, who are on the acquisition trail, but not very heavily. And via our Alpha connection, we've come across Tom's old colleague, Andy Poole, who has a firm in the southeast up for sale. And my client is interested. My client is now going to be on the list. And as you'd expect, Andy is doing a sales process with a view to maximizing price and getting half a dozen firms bidding for it. I think my client will be interested. Whether they'll pay top dollar is another matter, but it's not always top dollar that counts. Often as not, it's culture and future. So that's the early stages of me acting for an acquirer in that situation.
There's another one, Howard, which is ongoing, which I don't think you're aware of yet, which is a very small one for another firm in the Northwest that we have both acted for, who've come across a two-partner firm in the right geographic area, who are looking to retire, and it's going to be a very small little deal. But you know, that we're still seeing a lot of these sorts of bolt-ons where small firms haven't got the succession planning right.
Can I put a question to you, Barry? Listening to what Tom, Mark, and Howard say, I think we're all aware that there is more activity than this time last year. If you compare Q1 this year to Q1 last year, what does what we've heard tell us about the state of the market, Barry?
Well, can I just segue also into what Mark was saying then about succession? Because what I'm seeing, which I think is part of a trend, is that the issue of succession is looming ever larger, and the alternatives are becoming ever fewer. And what that is seeming to do is to drive people to do a really thorough assessment of whether they're actually capable, the next generation, of taking over, and whether they want all the responsibility that goes with it. And so I think it's part of this longer term trend as to whether you'd actually want to be a partner in this firm at all ever. And there's an increasing divide between those that lots of people would like to be partners in because they're on a roll and have got that sort of critical mass, and a lot of other firms which are finding that the sheer overhead of running a firm of more than about 20 or 30 people, it just makes the whole thing less and less worthwhile. And so I think that there's more people are almost, I wouldn't say quite despair, but there's a sort of despondency about the medium-term future. So I hope that answers your thoughts.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
It's easy for us as being a group, with one exception, easy for us being all codgers, with one exception. Tom, is it a millennial issue? Millennials don't seem to have the same attitude and same drive for equity ownership as perhaps our generation did.
Those pesky millennials. But there is something in it. I'm not actually. I think I forget where the dividing line is. I'm either just a millennial or just not. I think I'm just not. But nonetheless, those pesky millennials. But I do think there's something in that, isn't there? For whatever reason, that generation in their sort of 20s, 30s, which is the generation beneath me, that generation in their 20s, 30s, just don't want to do it. But I'd flip the question the other way around and go, why not? What is it that my generation, or maybe Howard, your generation, what is it that we did that means that generation is just like, no, don't be daft. Why would I do that?
I just don't think I don't think the proposition is as good as it was 20 years ago. I think is the real issue, because people have seen law firms fail. They've seen, I mean, I think, if you sort of caricature it, 30, 40 years ago, you became a partner in a reasonable provincial law firm, and you're a member of the golf club, sent your kids to the local private school and drove your Jag, and got back from lunch, signed your letters and went home. It's much harder work because the market is much tougher. You've got to run a business. There's bigger pressures all around, and the rewards aren't as comparatively good as they were. So I just think, I'm not blaming millennials. I'm saying sensible people in their 20s now are looking at the proposition and going, this doesn't make as much sense as the same proposition did 30 years ago.
But there is also this drive to multiplicity of experience among millennials. I can't remember the name of the speaker I saw at the LawNet conference at the back end of last year. It was a very powerful piece on how our parents' generation might have had they might have had 2 jobs in a lifetime.
Yeah.
We might go through 4 jobs in a lifetime. Tom's generation might have 8 jobs in a lifetime. The true millennials are on 16 jobs in a lifetime, and it is moving at a geometric rate. And if you're looking at north of 10 jobs in a lifetime, then equity isn't going to be one of them, is it?
And what does that do for client service and client satisfaction?
Well, so far, nothing measurable. It's an interesting question, though, Howard.
Yes,
perhaps a topic for another conversation.
Absolutely.
Now, gentlemen, is there time for? We have got time for any final comments on this, but I think we've been talking long enough.
Yeah, I need to replenish my coffee.
Are we all good?
I'm certainly.
Thank you. That was interesting.
Thank you all for your contributions, and to our viewers. I hope you've enjoyed our little snapshot of our take on the state of the market. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.